and welcome to this episode of the Adventures of the Windswift. Well, the results of the auditions are in, and as you can see, joining me, we have got Sophie, who will be playing Sekhet Het Otep. Welcome, Sophie.
Hello.
We have also got Tobias, who will be playing Jorek. Hello, and welcome, Tobias.
Hello.
And we have Jenny, who's joining us playing Adrosai, the Cathar.
Hello.
And of course, you can check out their bios, which we will be releasing over the next couple of weeks as individual little video files, so you can get the full lowdown on their characters, backstories, and so on. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everybody who participated. We couldn't, as you see, reduce it down to just 2 people joining us. We had to take 3 because it was like, well, we just loved everybody. And we would have taken 11 if we could have, but that would have made a very, very long show indeed. So thank you to everybody else who has participated. And some of you will be joining me in the other game that will hopefully be running at some point with Michael, which is the Starfinder game. So watch out for that. If you're a fan of science fiction, that's coming up soon as well on the channel. So be prepared there. So without any further ado, allow us to officially kick off the Adventures of the Windswift with our brand new crew. And we find ourselves in a rather difficult time problem. And that means that there is only one person who is aware of what's going on, and that is Blackston. So Blackston, give us a recap of what has happened in the last couple of weeks.
Blackston doesn't know so much as well. So from his point of view, he is stuck in a time loop. And he has about had it. There were certainly a few beneficial things, but nothing stuck with what he wanted to happen. So that's kind of a problem. And he hopes that he finally has found the wizard who was responsible for all the shenanigans. And now he is, I don't know, home, not home. It's hard to say with time, right? What time is it? I don't know at this point. Wanting to find out what's happening there. He has confiscated like a few dragon artifacts that are hopefully linked to that, and he is not even sure if he wants to return right now because he has lost much in the real time, whatever that is. So will he return, or will he be forever gone into the sunset?
Well, let's see. Because at the same time, and just because everybody's here, we have our 4 other captains who are on board a different flying vessel doing a different thing. And to give us a recap on that, since I have briefed them, we will now return to the Dice of Destiny to ask who should give us that information. Tobias, it's chosen you. Where are you guys? What's happening? Can you fill us in?
No, I'm just kidding. Of course I can. Jorek, Adrosai, and Sekhet Hotep Et are on the Ice of Sirius, which is a flying ship. And it is currently investigating and tracking down a corrupted wizard that has been causing the Order a lot of grief over the last few months. And we are currently on the Tiefling lands around the Dagrok Infurious volcano.
Absolutely.
And that's where you find us.
Absolutely. There's one thing you did forget, and that's Con is with you as well.
Oh, yeah, right. Of course.
Oh, yes. Oh, right. Yeah, just the doctor.
He's unimportant.
As soon as you get stabbed, then you'll remember his name.
Then you'll remember his name. Yes, indeed. All right, so that's where we start. We've got one crew at the Dagrok Confernus exploring the wizard's misdoings, and we've got Blackston aboard the Windswift above the Gamspire, having just defeated this ice mage who seemed to have been somehow doing something to time. And so we're going to pick it up with you, Blackston. What are you doing? The Windswift is now sailing. Those sky wills have dispersed once you had ordered the crew to cut away all of that plate armor that they were wearing and sent that tumbling down into the void below.
So our standing orders were to go to the Dwarven settlement, right?
Correct.
Yeah, the Western border. But I think having like dragon artifacts might take precedent over like some training mission. So would I know where the next Arch Relica would be? Is it like back in base or?
Generally speaking, you would go to the Oracle, in this case Demestra, and report that you do have these artifacts, and then they will organize a rendezvous with the Arcredicar.
Well, then there it is.
All right. As you're taking these artifacts, you bound them up in cloth.
Yeah, I didn't want to directly touch them. I wanted to
Correct.
kind of have them secure, but, well, not ultimate power yet.
Right, absolutely. As you are heading to the Oracle's chamber to Demestra, you realize that the lighting around you is starting to change. It's taking on a greenish hue. And it doesn't take you long to realize that the light is escaping out of the backpack that you put those artifacts into.
There's nothing I can do about it right now.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not going to take a look, and I will keep them on my body, right? So,
Right. So you're heading into Demestra.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. All right, back to the four of you guys, captains of the Ice of Sirius. The ship has done a graceful 360 of the gigantic volcano that is known as the Dagrolkin Furious. This massive volcano which continuously spews out great big plumes of black ash, and the smell of sulfur is ever present. Stretching out below you, you can see the Sa'ai Desert, and it does not offer any comfort to you, Sekhet Hetep, because it is not a desert in the traditional sense. It is completely covered in salt, salt crystals, as a matter of fact. And so does not behave as your homeland deserts do. Now, the cave entrance is fairly obvious to be seen from here because it is a massive skull that has been carved into the side of the volcano. Tieflings in the past used to use this as a temple where they would sacrifice individuals to the volcano gods that they believed lived in that in the volcano itself, but they've abandoned that about 200 years ago. And your sources have led you to this exact spot. What are the four of you doing?
Observation. Any sign of movement around the entrances to the caves?
So,
Any kind of defenses?
all right. At this height, you are still at the obligatory 1 mile above the surface of the territory. It's difficult to tell. There does look like there may be some large bloody bodies lying around the entrance to the cave mouth. You can tell that the entrance to the cave mouth is fairly large. It must easily be 80 foot across and possibly 100 foot in height. This massive open skull where the mouth sort of opens out, and you would step basically between the two front teeth to gain access into this giant space. The volcano itself stretches up almost to the height that you are at before it opens out into this huge caldera of bubbling and smoking lava.
Well, we should probably get the skiff ready.
Aye. I'll see to that.
Okay, getting the skiff is not a problem. Adrasai, are you going to do anything?
I'm guessing Edrisai might be at the helm, sort of gently steering things at this point.
All right. You have
we
a
should just-
first officer. His name is Kevin. Kevin is quite happy to take over.
Yes. I give the wheel to Kevin and I go, we should probably have the ship maintain some distance from the volcano after we've entered it to make sure that it is safe, and then it can come pick us up when we're done.
Right, you are, Captain, says Kevin.
Good. We can all do this. So I have to pat his shoulder slightly nervously, and I head off to join the others at the skiff.
All right, Sekhet.
I'm also watching over the bow, and my hand is sort of flashing light as I sort of nervously look down towards the entrance of the cave.
Perfect. All right, Con.
Gather up my medical bag, and my wooden symbol of Ner, the goddess, nature, and my other bits and my staff, and then I make to the point where we should board the skiff, putting on a brave face, even though walking into erupting volcanoes is not something I'm really all that comfortable about doing.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so with Jorok at the helm of the skiff, it detaches itself from the back of the
You're
ship.
crazy.
And slowly starts making its
I've had training now.
making its way down towards the cave entrance. As you get closer and closer to the surface, Jorok, you're going to need to give me a sailor check, please, because the thermals that are surrounding this volcano start to become quite difficult to navigate.
23.
Oh, all right. Well, not for you. You skate around, duck down, and move around the various plumes that burst out of this volcano. Every now and again, you hear the sort of rat-tat-tat of little bits of pumice smacking against the side of the skip's hull. But nothing too particularly dangerous, but certainly a constant reminder that death is nearby. As you get lower, you start to make out the corpses that are lying around the entrance to the cave. They look to be quite large, possibly 12 foot in height originally, definitely humanoid, but completely covered in white, shaggy fur. Possibly these could be yetis that live within the mountain ranges around the volcano. Because it's so high up, it is fairly cold year-round, so they thrive here. But something has effectively ripped them open. Doesn't look like it's eaten too much of the flesh, just basically shredded them and left them lying around the entrance to the cave.
This is getting better and better.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, we don't see anyone, but is it still possible to take sort of a stealthy trajectory so we don't just go right in?
Oh, absolutely. The volcano itself has got many crags and sort of almost buttress-like arms stretching out from its base. Yeah, absolutely. You can sort of hide in the shadows and move around as you get closer. Eventually, though, you get to the point where you can land.
Well, we do land because we need to investigate this.
All right.
All right, get ready, everyone.
As you
Watch out for falling rocks.
Yes, every now and again there is a thump, thump, thump as bits of pumice fall around. As you step out of the skiff, though, your foot steps onto the muddy surface, and you can instantly you realize that it cracks. And there's this patina of hardened rock, but underneath is still this very mushy mud. And as it cracks, it releases this vent of hot air. Not enough to burn or scald, but it's definitely still a very volatile environment. Anyone can make a knowledge nature check.
Are they in the cauldron of this thing already?
No, they're not in the caldera itself.
Caldera,
on
okay.
the surrounding areas of it, but the whole area is just incredibly volatile. There's geysers and hot springs and all of that around the base of it. Yeah.
What is it with these evil geniuses?
11 for the nature check.
Anyone get higher than 11?
12.
Do I have anything higher than 12? 12 going once,
Yeah, 14.
14 to the lady. 15 to the man. Sold for 15. All right. You step out. As you're moving over the surface, you realize that there is a potential that one of the next steps you take could lead into super hot mud, which could erupt and burst like a bubble, basically. So you start to identify that there's areas where you can see the surface of the mud's got like pock marks on it, where it looks like it's only just finished boiling. Those areas you step away from, and you sort of step onto smoother that have cooled a little bit more. So
How
you're
far away from this?
Yeah, because you wanted to sort of come in from a bit of an angle and avoid the direct entrance of the cave. You've got about 50 foot to go before you get to the side of the entrance, if you like. So you're not coming directly, and you're coming in from the side. But even from here, you can see those yetis are lying there. And you can see it's all ages of yeti. There's children, there's adults, there's elder ones. It's almost as if an entire tribe was just decimated and left here. They've still got very crude bracelets made out of ice glass, which is that incredibly hard substance that you've encountered. Well, you haven't encountered before, as a matter of fact, Con. And other various very crude trinkets and things that the Yetis manufacture. Back to you, Blackston. You arrive at Demestra's quarters.
So before I do, my mind is a little bit muddled from all the back and forth. Last time I was on this ship, was Sorry on the ship too?
There was a mention of her, but you didn't see her.
Sorry, are you here?
Eventually, there's you don't remember, sir, says Hurricane on the horn.
I had a hard day. So she isn't here?
No, she is not here, sir. She had... she left us.
Okay, thank you. I don't know what happened, so...
Yes. Everyone else is like, God, he's cold. We know he didn't like her, but... Anyway, yes.
Yeah, so then to Demestra, because
All right.
she was Arc Relica, right? So it would
Correct.
have made sense to kind of talk to her.
Correct. Demestra, as you step in, she looks at you. She is incredibly distraught. And the reason, she says, listen, please sit down first before you say anything. I know why you're here, but I must tell you something first, because I don't know if we have much time, or we might have lots of time. I don't know. It's very confusing.
Yes. I don't sit down.
The boy Mios has the same recollections as you do. He remembers different cadets running around on the ship. He remembers different captains being on the ship. He does not remember Captain Sori being so violently murdered. He does not remember any of that whatsoever. He has similar recollections to yourself.
Yeah, the gnomes too.
I have not read their minds. They have remained in engineering for most of the time here, and it's not exactly a legal activity that I do. I simply do.
Yes. Okay. So there's more, I assume.
I think that the memories that you have are the right ones. The memories that we have are the wrong ones. I only say this because yours seem to make more sense in terms of how we get to this space. There are people in your mind that were doing terrible things, the Rex Drakari, for example, which you defeated in your mind. In mine, the Deacon Vardis is not our deacon, but he is a deacon in the order, and I assume he was following a similar course, since most of your memories keep people in the same places that they were.
Wait. What happened with the Rex Drakari? What happened with the Order?
We have no knowledge of this Rex Drakari whatsoever. It is only in your mind and in the boys, and I assume the gnomes too.
And what do you mean with right or wrong? I didn't delve in magics, but if this time is different than where I'm from or what I remember, why would it be wrong or right? Anyway.
It's a good question to ask, except that yours, I would postulate, is the original time. It is the one that was meant to be as ordained by the gods.
That might be, but I don't care for the... Okay, so what does this mean?
I do not know. Simply that I think, need to get you back to the place where you have defeated the Rextrakari. If they are so terrible a threat to the Order that I myself would kill myself to see their downfall, that is surely something that we must, as much as I hate the idea, explore. Surely.
Well, I have no idea to go get back anyway. But what I do know is that I just killed an ice elf who had dragon artifacts. Since Sori is not longer with us, for whatever reason, I don't remember, I don't have any Arc Relica at hand, I assume either.
You are the last of the serving captains on board the Windswift. These cadets are supposed to be your replacements.
Right. And they're busy jumping off the ship. Okay, so...
Yes, they are.
We need to meet up with any Arc Relica that is in the vicinity, or maybe even get back to the base to see what these magic items mean, and if these time whatevers have anything to do with it or not, and if I'm wrong here or not. I don't know. But at least we need to speak to our deacon about this and see what he...
Absolutely. I think that is the right course of action. There is only one question which I have, which I doubt you can answer. Why is Mios able to tell me the same story that you have? Not even as if it was a stolen thought from your head. He has his own. He remembers you rescuing him from this Mercury Lake in this desert.
Yes, I don't know. Does it really matter right now?
No, I suppose it doesn't, but it has traumatized the boy significantly, and I just thought that it was worth mentioning. I will contact Dr. Relica.
Yes, first the work, then the pleasantries, I guess.
Or unpleasantries.
In that case, indeed.
Back to the four of you as you approach the cave system. In what order are you going? Are you sort of huddling as a group? Are you following... And if so, what's your order?
I assume we're mostly in a line following Con, because he seems to be the one who actually saw those spots we could walk on. I'm following close behind Con.
Yeah, using my staff to test the ground as I go, I head cautiously towards the cave opening.
All
right, so it's Con, then Jorik.
Yeah, and then I guess I'm following shortly after.
All right, then Seket.
Still nervously flashing.
I'll head up the rear
At
then.
the back. All right. So as you get to the entrance of the cave, Con, you get this aroma of rotting meat, much, much stronger than the sulfur that permeates this place, which speaks to vast quantities of it. It's actually so overpowering that you can almost feel this humid atmosphere that's just generated from the decay. It's beyond repulsive.
Oh, do we really have to go in there?
I fish some things out of my medical bag, hand everyone some bandages and a bottle of oil, fragrant oil. We may be needing these.
Thank you. I think I'm going to pass out.
It's
well,
worse than the fish
Jorik is
market.
already wearing a face veil, so he just dabs some oil on it.
Good. Spare the bandage.
All right.
Thank you.
It smells like a charnel house in there.
Butcher's shop.
A very poorly maintained butcher's shop, correct? Absolutely. Heading inside the entrance, the floor has been or was carved out of the actual volcano itself, and the walls obviously were carved as well, but then were overlaid with brickwork to create and depict these mosaics of the tieflings in their supposedly heroic struggle against the dragons. Although, as you recall history, the tieflings didn't really commit too many forces to overthrowing the dragons. They appeared to be looting the dragons' treasure hoards at the time. And anyway, that caused no end of problems when the treaties were being brought into place, but they signed them, so they get the protection of the order. And the order goes where it must. The entrance is, like I said, this large opening, and it heads directly into the base of the volcano. So apart from the smell, the heat starts to increase. As you enter, you see where the smell comes from. There are just piles of these corpses. There's some tiefling corpses, just mainly though it's yeti and the local wildlife. There's a particularly sad sight where you can see this female snow panther. They're very, very rare species, apparently. There's this female snow panther with 4 cubs that have been absolutely decimated and just sort of left to rot. So there's absolutely no care for these bodies that have just been dumped. What is concerning is that the way the bodies have been dumped, something has obviously walked through these corpses in the fairly recent past and has pushed them aside. But they've pushed them aside to create a 15, maybe 17-foot wide passageway through the corpses. So you can almost imagine these lines of people pushing the corpses aside to create this passageway through. So you start to enter into this maze of corpses, basically.
Like a snow plow. Wow.
Almost like a flesh plow in this case, yes. Absolutely.
How dark is it?
There's quite a lot of light coming through, and the reason for it is you realize when you look up what the architects of this temple had done, though without magic it would be physically impossible, is the ceiling is exposed to a lava chute. So when you look up, it's this liquid molten magma above you, slowly busy boiling its way up to the top of the volcano half a mile above you from that.
Don't cast a spell magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Nope. You can see, you don't have to make Arcana checks, you can see from here these ancient runes inscribed into the ceiling to keep these almost magic glass panes in place and not melting. And you assume to protect you from the furnace-like heat, the furnace-like heat that would have been generated from that. But anyway, so that's what they've done, and that of course creates quite a lot of light. But although the ceiling is a good 60 foot above you, the piles of corpses rise up 10, 15, 20 foot, depending on how many bodies are in the pile. So you can't sort of see over it. But just these passageways and these pathways that have been moved and pushed through have been created.
So Con, leading the way, gets to this stage and is confronted by this head-high maze of piled-up corpses, all bathed in glowing orange inferno light. And the rest of you may see the slight tick of body movement that is him stopping himself from going, nope, turning around and walking away.
Just to help him along the way, Jorik pulls up his bow and an arrow and just ready, and then nods to Con. Well, you first.
Thanks.
Yes, let's all go into the maze of nightmares.
Yes, not good.
Nobody touch nothing.
So here's the question. What is the fly situation? What is the pus situation?
Coming along the thin air.
Yeah.
In a warmer surrounding.
Absolutely. So as you start making your way into this flesh maze, you become painfully aware that this humidity there aren't any flies that you can see, but every now and again you are startled because there's movement in amongst the meat. And then to your realization, that's because there is just piles of maggots slowly eating away at the flesh, consuming it en masse, if you like.
I cast Comforting Aura just to link us up in a psionic field and just calm everyone down.
There you go.
I'm going to cast Prestidigitation and create a pleasant flower smell just around my face. And I'm going to say,
flowers.
This is the most fascinating and also horrifyingly disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, please stay calm, everyone. Stay calm.
Speak for yourself.
Well, you do now have this aura around you, which helps a little bit.
Game mechanics wise, it gives us a plus 1d4 on saving throws, so
Nice.
it's more roleplay than anything else.
Absolutely. No, it's lovely. As you continue deeper, you start to get to the impression that this is not necessarily a maze, but that someone did not take kindly to this large space being so open. And so has basically redecorated the interior with rooms made out of these corpses. They've pushed them into different corners and things. They've obviously been here for quite some time because the lower layers, thank you, have decomposed completely to bone. And then just sort of had meat and bits and pieces stacked up, which slowly obviously start to liquefy and dribble down. The overall effect is putrid and rank. There is no sign of anything else living in here, at least not until the shadow passes overhead. You can all make perception checks, please.
17.
8. I'm apparently busy staring at corpses.
19.
What deranged
21.
individual did this?
21. All right, so the three of you, you're looking at this macabre scene and the light suddenly changes. And when you look up, you're convinced that you see the tail end of, it must be a wyvern or some kind of scaly flying creature, because that's definitely what has flown over your heads.
Duck!
Uh-oh.
You might want to get a move on and get into out of this open space quite quickly.
I vote we do this as fast as possible and then debate what was going on later.
Yes, let's just get into some kind of tunnel.
Agreed. Keep moving, stay low.
All right, that's what you
Keep
do.
your eyes away.
I'm going to try to keep an eye upwards and sort of see if I can keep track of it.
Okay. It seems as if once it's passed over, it doesn't seem to be coming back, but you never know because it came out of nowhere, so it might very well come back. Blackson, back to you. Demestra informs you that there is a ship. It is the Thunder's Call, and it is on its way. There's a Captain Reed on board who is responding. They should,
Reed, like the
thing
the grass
to a lake. Yes.
Okay.
The ship should be here in about an hour or so.
Okay. Well, it gives me time to speak to Miles.
All right. He's obviously on deck. He's busy helping reattach the skiff as the three cadets bumble their way up and try and reattach it. And they look all the worse for wear. Lieutenant Ty just nods at you and says, I've instructed them to go below deck and see themselves in the infirmary.
I nod and say, and give her the information that the Thunder Squad is going to rendezvous and in what direction we are heading to kind of basically meet them. Or where we...
Yes, I understand, so yes.
Where's this thick-headed cow when you need it? Mios.
Yes, sir?
Are you hungry?
Yes, sir.
Good, I'm too. Let's go.
Okay, sir.
And drop the surfer now.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Then heading to...
All right, you arrive. Hurricane looks at the two of you.
Give me something to drink. Something strong. I had a fucked up 3 days.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. I did not realize the cadets were posing so much of a headache for you. I thought the last 3 days were quite pleasant, sailing over the Great Kush Mountains, taking in the deserts of the Sajet Empire.
Yeah, well, you had not to deal with people who jump off ships. That's usually what I do.
But this is true. He starts to prepare a
Mios, what do you want?
he orders his usual, he says, as he sort of sits casual at the bar, as casual as a 14-year-old can sit there trying to be one of the men, exactly right. He then very, very timidly takes his mug of milk and then sits there nervously.
So since I am the last acting captain right now on board, came to my ears that you are somewhat distraught.
Well, it's not right, sir. Not.
Yes, I know. But we had to kill those people. They were attacking us, trying to kill us.
No, I don't mean that. It's not. We're not right. I don't remember anything from the past. Well, I don't remember this. I don't remember it. I remember Captain Sorry, but I don't remember her being murdered. They said she was murdered. I don't remember her being murdered. And where's Captain Mutaru and where's Captain Con? I don't understand why they're not here. Only when I ask anybody else, they don't remember them. Why don't they remember the captains, sir? Not sir. Oh.
Just nodding. Well, what do you remember?
Well, the last thing I remember was that we were blowing up the bad people in the Dwarvish harbor.
Okay, then what is the first thing you remember? What happened before we found you?
Well, I was on board the ship, sir, the Kadandachi.
Okay.
And
what did you do on the Kadandachi?
I was the cabin boy, sir, and I was principally responsible for looking after the gnomes, sir, that ran the Kadandachi.
Okay. Well, you're not going crazy. The wizard we attacked, he did something to all these kinds of things, and this is strictly secretive, of course, but to ease your...
do you want me to leave? Says Hurricane.
I just throw him a look. It's like...
He just quietly starts polishing a glass.
Nobody should know this, but we are researching what happened and what happened to these, what this mage tried to do to us. So it cannot happen again.
I think I know what it is.
Oh.
Well, kind of. I think I'm a gnome.
Yes.
You look at the strapping. He's about 6 foot worth of tall, gangly human teenager.
Maybe, maybe not.
Well,
but...
Jochen and Waffen are not affected either. They also remember everything that we remember, sir. Not so.
Yes. Did you bring these gnomes on the Karandachi any beverage at some point and were somewhere where you didn't belong?
He blushes very, very, very much so. You make a mental note to never use him to lie to anybody because it's obvious.
It's children are bad lies.
Right, absolutely. But he's particularly bad.
No.
Well, there was one time that the engineers were working really, really hard, and I wasn't supposed to go in, but I thought they really needed something to drink, and I had beer for them, and they couldn't come out because they were maintaining the engine, so I went in.
Yeah. Well, another secret we keep to ourselves, right?
Oh, yes, sir. I haven't told anybody else, sir.
All right. Now, let's continue our investigation and see if we are wrong or they are wrong.
Yes.
And if you remember anything else, feel free to come to me and talk to me.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Hurricane looks at you. For the record, I don't remember any of that. I was on your ship for the last 6 months.
Yeah, I know. Is the child still with us? Or is...
He's still drinking his milk, yes.
Okay, and I kind of nod forward and say, like, I don't know what's going on right now. Let's meet with this other ship, and we'll find out what actually is going on here.
As you say that, we go back to this putrid cave filled with dread, horror, and the scent of a rose garden as the four of you make your way through the corpses, one eye on the ceiling, one eye on the floor to look out for maggots and things. There is a dread that starts to pick up, Adrasai, in the pit of your stomach, and you start to realize what it is whenever you look behind the group, because you're sort of trailing at the back. I mean, you're moving as a bit of a cluster now, but you're still at the back. Every time you look at the piles of meat, you're convinced that the maggots seem to be starting to move in your general direction. But at first you dismissed it as simply being, it's the pressure of the space. It's not possibly happening. Except now, when you look behind you, you've been watching up above you, you look behind you, and you can now see that they have started to form this carpet, and this undulating wave of slightly yellowed worms is now starting to follow you. And what you realize is that when you step towards it, it suddenly stops. But the moment you carry on walking, it starts to move following you again.
Fellow captains, I think we're being followed.
Followed?
Yes, you all look behind you to see this carpet. It's about an inch thick worth of just maggots crawling over one another, starting to follow. You can see that more are being pulled out of the meat and are joining this writhing mass, which as you watch it, it's getting slightly higher and slightly more each time.
It seems to be trying to be secretive.
Okay, insect larvae?
Yeah.
I'm not that intelligent. So I'm opting for something else bigger going on here and moving faster.
I'm trying to take a step towards it to see if it backs off or if it stays.
As you take a step towards it, the carpet suddenly rolls back, clustering and clumping into this ball-like shape, which then slowly starts to gain in height. It's now about a foot high as it's rolled back, made out of this constant writhing mass of maggots.
What the hell is going on?
Right. As fascinating as this is, if we were in any other situation, I might take a sample of that. But I think right now we should run.
I agree.
Well,
okay, let's go.
Expeditious proceed, yes. Not run.
Expeditious proceed.
Expeditiously proceed. Running to accidents.
All right, so you all start to jog away. Mass. There we go. Welcome to the Windswift, everybody, where everyone runs away from piles of maggots. Well, I would too, actually. All right, so
Yeah.
you to run through this maze of meat and that sort of thing. Con, you're in front. Would you please give me a dexterity saving throw, followed immediately by a strength saving throw?
Splendid.
As you ambitiously mosey away.
Yes.
So, dexterity.
Yes, sir.
17.
All right.
Strength. My better one. Oh, no way. 17.
Well, as you round this chunk of meat wall, the challenge of moving quickly is that you need to make sure that your footfalls land on solid stone, not on bits of old skin or liquefied meat. and you can't touch any walls to push off of because you'd be afraid that your hand would break through whatever surface there is and puncture into something much worse. So it's a bit tricky, but as you come around the corner, you're about to take a step forward when you suddenly realize there is this large chasm in front of you. There's a drop of 60 foot down to this very impressive little lava flow. The tieflings really had a theme going. Anyway, so there's this lava flow at the bottom.
I wish they didn't.
I'm not sure I'd pick this interior designer myself.
I quickly shout, "Sudden drop!"
Yes, so that's what the strength check was for, as everyone else sort of piles back to push your way back to prevent you from being pushed over the edge. Yes, so that's where the four of you find yourself. There's a 30-foot jump to the other side. The other side looks to be this circular plateau almost, an island in amongst the lava. And built into that is this spectacular columned temple. Again, with lots of skull motif on the edges, the gargoyles are all skull-like creatures. But the entrance to this temple, which was originally a nice 10-foot by 10-foot door, the whole front wall has been ripped away to reveal the space within the temple itself. So you can see that the temple was originally 4 stories high, but that's been ripped out and gutted. So that's what you see in front of you. What are you doing?
Of course there's a lava trench. Of course there is.
Can we see any kind of mechanism or anything to extend a bridge? Or is this basically you're going to have a magical bridge or flyover?
Well, as you look, you realize that there was actually a bridge here. You can see the support buttresses on the sides of either of the chasm's walls, but someone has actually knocked that bridge away, and fairly recently, because unlike the rest of the stone, which has got a blackened sort of surface to it because of the lava, you can actually see the fresh, dark, dull blue-gray of the rock that the original stone must have been. So it's probably happened in the last month or so.
Does it disappear like between the flesh walls, or is there like an actual stone wall that could be climbed?
Well, either way, so originally this would have just been a large concourse that would have led directly to this chasm, and then there was the bridge that went over it to then the temple.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But the flesh walls have been built up to create this maze-like space on the side. Yeah.
Anybody bring a rope?
No.
I have a bag of sand. No. Jork steps up behind everyone and just waits for the inevitable maggot horde to show up and figure this out.
Always bring a rope, says Con, reaching beneath his robes and unwrapping it from around his waist.
All right. How about I could enable one of you to jump a little better? Like I can cast a spell and then one of us jump over and then we secure the rope somehow and the rest of us can climb across.
Good thinking.
The rope.
So how wide was this chasm to jump?
All right, so who's the best jumper?
Fine. I'll do it.
Sure. All right, well, just hold this rope and I just put my hand on the shoulder and I cast jump.
Yeah.
Right.
I suppose acrobatics.
Yeah.
The creature's jump distance is tripled until the spell ends.
All right, that's good because you can long jump your strength score in feet. Yeah. So if you have a strength of 2, you can now jump 6 feet. If you have a strength of 10, then jump 30 feet.
9. I won't quite make it. But what do I roll for?
All right, so you can give me an athletics check, because yes, you can jump your 9 feet, but if you roll an exceptional athletics check, you can stretch with your hands and get the last 3 feet that you need.
I think 14 is not exceptional.
No, it's not particularly.
Oh dear. Well, we are holding on to a rope that you're holding on to, so you can try. Okay, hold
All
on.
right. So there is that disaster. So with Adrasai, I knew it was going to fall over at some point. Everyone was waiting for it to happen. Adrasai and Con, would you two please give me a combined strength check as Jorik fails to make the distance and now starts his rapid descent towards the lava pit below because lava.
Oh, natural 20.
Oh,
So,
there you go.
so you're saying they have lava in front of them and lava behind them?
Yes.
Maggots behind us.
Maggots,
Yeah.
lava behind, maggots in front. Yeah. What did you get?
Lava above.
No.
No.
That's not-
On you. Yeah, well, yes, you don't help very much, but it doesn't matter because Adrasai is infused with desire to keep Joy alive. So she tugs mightily on the rope.
I'm just burying my claws in the ground.
Yes.
So this is how you create draw, right?
Small little cat holding on to this rope with this quite large elf hanging on the bottom of it. Staket, you realize whilst everyone is busy focused on Jorik and the lava pit, that indeed the maggot horde has arrived. Only now it's not a foot high. It's about 7 foot high and is moving like this very sinuous snake.
Okay.
Okay, we'll pull them up.
Yeah, I'm
You guys
gonna
haven't seen
attempt
this yet.
to do chromatic orb, which could go
Ooh.
either way. So I'm gonna make a ranged spell attack. Okay. Oh dear. Okay, no, that's not too bad. 18.
18, absolutely. That hits, yes.
Awesome. And I'm gonna go for maggots. Let's go for some acid. Acid damage.
All right.
Nice.
Roll your damage.
Okay. All right. 19.
19 damage. Fantastic. Okay, so as this chromatic orb splashes out over the maggots, you can see them sizzling and breaking up and burning and just being destroyed as they get bubbled and boiled by the acid. For a moment, the serpent recoils because it looks like the head has been completely dissolved by your sludge, but then it reforms as they reappear. Not reappear, they get replenished almost. Additional troops from behind. That's going to take us into initiative. So can everyone roll initiative, including you, Blackson, as well, please? And I'll just bounce to you whenever I need to.
16.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
21.
6.
Well, I'm clearly kind of distraught about hangover lava. 8.
Hot.
Understandable.
5. Okay. All right. Well, going first is Adrasai.
I'm going to try to start pulling Jorik out of the lava pit.
Not a problem. With your natural 20 strength, you start to haul him up.
Whee!
Yeah. Well, it doesn't fly up, but you definitely manage to pull him up without too much of a difficulty. But it will take your entire round and concentration just.
Yes. Jorik, do you want to try that again, or shall I try this time?
No, thank you. You can try.
All right.
Meanwhile, there's this giant maggot snake thing busy devouring Seket in the background. It's like,
Come up over the edge and just what the fuck? What?
It's just like, I'm fighting.
Put me back.
all right, Blackstone, you are instructed that the ship has arrived.
All right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Send them to me, or send Captain Reed, to the cartography room, I guess, is now.
Absolutely. All right, so he arrives, Captain Reed, this very stern-looking human. He's got this very long scar that runs across the side of his head, parting his hair unnaturally. So he gives you a look up and down.
And say, Blackston, pleased to meet you.
Captain Reed, I understand. Are you aware that you're glowing?
Well, my backpack is glowing, yes.
Yes.
Well, indeed unusual. It's because there are dragon artifacts in it, and that is why you are here.
I assumed as much, yeah. Well, your message actually said so, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There are other things that happened recently that might or might not be connected to these artifacts, so as I kind of let him go and investigate if he wants to, I kind of explain the situation as best to my recollection. And
right, absolutely. And yeah, as you so you put the artifacts down onto the table.
Yeah, in the backpack,
Right.
It's still wrapped in, just like they're glowing, basically giving me this green halo, I guess.
Yes. Exactly. Yes, you're glowing. He takes out these very, very purple velvet gloves, which he puts on. And then he very delicately opens out the wrapping that you had around the amulet and the staff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're quite right. These are definitely draconic. But I think they're going to explode. He said,
well, do you want them to bring them on your ship first, or?
Here, have this bomb.
on that note, let's go to another character who's just realized that they're not in exactly a great situation. Jorik, you've managed to be pulled up to the cliffside where you see the try and jump again, or Saket busy throwing out this green magic at this giant maggot snake.
Well, after a brief moment of what the hell, I try to reach out with my mind and create a psionic wall between us and the maggot horde thing, just to give us more time.
All right.
So it's a wisdom save for the beast to try and get through. And if it succeeds, nothing happens. It just goes through.
So it's one of those walls.
Yeah. It's there if you believe in it.
Right. The prison we trap ourselves in. Okay. So as this thing rears back, it's about to lunge at you, Saket, and it suddenly just starts to explode in this rather curious yellowy green liquid, which is obviously very gooey because it just bangs against what looks to be pure air. And you realize the maggots are bursting as they're hitting this invisible barrier.
It's working! Hurry up!
That brings us to Saket.
Well, I was getting acid splash ready, but I kind of hold off and just instinctively move backwards and look down at my clothes.
None of the ichor seems to be coming through.
Okay. All right. Help get Jorik up. No, wait. Somebody's jumping somewhere. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can make this jump happen. I'm useless at that kind of magic, though. I'll just hold on to the rope and be helpful.
You kind of pick up the rope, which is now sort of hanging rather limply.
Waste.
Con?
So taking all of this in, and that's a nice trick, I muttered to myself, seeing Jorik clearly doing something to the worms as he's I attention to your jumping.
Yes. I think I could probably maybe do that, hopefully.
Better do it now!
Yes.
I help Saket with the rope.
Everybody is holding the limp rope. All right, so that brings us to the top of the round, which is, of course, Adversai.
Right, I'm going to... I'm just not sure how much of this I can do on one turn, but I'm going to tie off the rope, and then I'm going to cast jump on myself this time, and then I'm going to try to jump it. Because I've got 10 strength, so I can get 30 feet.
Get it. So it claws out,
Yes.
launch, and try and dig in. All right. Give me an
pretty much.
check.
Oh, God. Don't fail me now.
The question is Sky on the
that
other
is
side?
15 plus 3 is 18.
18. All right. So you sail through the air and claws out, land just on the tip. Yeah, just on the tip.
Scramble.
Mount.
The tail is this big.
As you scrabble your way up onto the plateau. As you do so, you...
No more maggots.
You get that shadow feeling again. But you're busy scrabbling to try and get up. So you get that shadow feeling. We then are, just before we go to Blackston, the four of you see landing directly in front of Adrasai this exceptionally large dragon. His great big wing pushing out gusts of air, and in his one hand you can see he's doing this strange shape. This massive talon is busy twisting, and as you look from the talon at the maggot snake, you see it's attacking where he's moving his finger or his giant claw. And of course, it's just battering against this wall. How long does the wall last for, Jorik?
Concentration or maximum of 10 minutes.
All right.
No, the monster gets to get a new wisdom save every time it wants to try.
Absolutely. Okay, Blackston. Yes, I think they're going to explode. There's a discharge effect that's not happening. You didn't happen to find anything else with these, did you?
A dead ice elf.
Oh, nice elf. I haven't seen one of those. I thought they were extinct.
Well, I've run in quite a few in the recent past.
Really?
Yes.
You didn't report it? I would have read a report. I'm sure of it.
Did you listen to me what I told you like 5 minutes ago?
Oh, yes, of course. Temporal mechanics is not really my thing. More of a gnomish concern, really. Not that it's an actual science, of course.
Well, if this thing is going to explode, I think I'd rather not have it to happen on the Windswift.
Yes, probably a good idea. We could try and discharge it. I suspect that's why there's the staff and the amulet.
You are the captain of the Ark Relica. I'm here to kill people. You're here to do these kinds of things.
Yeah. Usually we take it back to headquarters and examine it completely. There is a chance that it could be a dragon trap. They do that from time to time. We discharge it, and in actual fact it causes a rift to open up. Not that that's ever happened officially, mind you. So, all right. So you're handing this over to me officially, are you?
That's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, no, that's absolutely fine. I'm so glad you made it my problem. It is my job, obviously. I just wish I didn't happen to have it today. We were going to have rhubarb pie, actually, on the ship, and I was rather looking forward to that, but now that's not going to happen. All right. Well, let's just put this in... Well, I'll just take these, I suppose, he says, with his purple gloves. He picks up the medallion, and then he picks up the staff. You don't recall seeing anything happening with the ice elf with these objects, do you?
So if I remember this correctly, the ice elf was just trying to use them, right, as I killed him?
Correct. But you did see these green flares.
Pulsating before as we approached. Yeah, and also in the other times, I know. Yeah, okay.
Right.
So I say, well, I saw these kinds of lights before, and as I struck the ice elf down, he was in mid-incantation.
I think I'm going to hit them together.
Because they're exploding?
I think that will discharge whatever has been building up. It's an educated guess. Well, no, let me rephrase. It's a guess. I haven't come across this before. Dragons were very adverse to temporal fiddling. It causes all kinds of headaches, as I'm sure you're experiencing.
Perhaps.
The gnomes are the only ones who've had any real experience with this sort of thing. They claim to have been able to go back for hours or go ahead in time, days perhaps, but never the experience that you've specified.
Yes. I'm at your mercy.
All right. Well, let's see what this does. And Jorik, what are you doing?
Well, it's concentration only, so I guess I really don't need to stand there and hold my hands. But
Right.
I can't do much else right now, so I
Stand there and hold your hands.
I really don't need to do this, you know. This is just for effect, but
just for show.
it still feels right.
Actually, no, I take up my bow and I aim at the dragon. Not that I think it's going to do much, but it's better than nothing. Yeah, it's like, fuck this situation.
Welcome to the
adventures of the Winds.
But I don't fire. I just aim at the dragon.
Right, and concentrate on the wall behind you. All right.
Yes.
Saket, what are you doing?
I think I probably would react with Witch's Bolt towards the dragon. God knows if that's a good idea. Probably not.
Right.
Shit. Okay. So that did not go so well. 11.
No. So
No.
as your bolt sails towards the dragon, its finger for a moment stops moving.
Oh dear.
And the bolt sails towards it. It just rushes its hand sideways, and the bolt stops midair and hovers in front of it for a while. And then it drops its paw, and the bolt just disappears off into the side of the cavern.
Well, that went well.
Con?
Well, here's a good question. Does Con drop the rope? No, he doesn't.
All right, good.
So because as far as I'm aware, this rope is still attached to
the
Adversary.
cavern.
Yes.
Correct.
So I guess after a moment of slack-jawed disbelief, I sort of almost on autopilot tie my end of the rope off. Is there something I can tie it to?
Yeah, there's several large femurs that have been embedded into the stonework just by weight.
So it's not going to just undo itself, as it were.
Right.
In my mind, is just coming apart at this point because all my lessons have told me that I am now dead.
Right. Absolutely. Its massive head lowers down to almost your level, but it's difficult because its jaw, from the base of the jaw just to its bottom lip, is a 6-foot-high distance. So even when its head is very low down, it's still towering above you. And its eyes focus on your group. It feels as if it's looking at all four of you at exactly the same time, but that's just because the pupil is easily that big, maybe a bit bigger. And all that it says is, "This is not right."
Thank you for noticing.
It then starts to inhale.
Well,
No.
Captains,
Breath. I need everybody to
good
give me
serving
a
with you.
strength check, please.
I'm one of my better ones.
Yes. Well, you did have a better one earlier on.
Yeah, that was the luck of the dice.
Well,
7.
7.
There it is.
3 for Jorik.
3.
11 for Con. All right. So, Con, you are standing there looking at this thing, and it starts to inhale, and wind just starts to pull around you. And the next minute, you hear this scream from Jorik as he's been pulled off of the edge, because he was still standing on the edge, basically, of the cliff. He's been pulled off and starting to collapse towards the lava.
And the wall
Saket
disappears.
sails past you as she's just been picked up by this wind as it's taking a breath. And of course, Adrasai is the first to go. If you can imagine this horrific scene, there's this poor catfolk that's just been sucked into a jet engine. She just literally vanishes down its gullet as it goes. Just inhale
with the rope sort of flapping after.
So is this a fur ball?
Absolutely. Just this moment.
Yeah, choke on me.
Choke on me. My claws are out. I'll give you indigestion for a couple minutes.
Yeah, just clawing all the way down his gullet.
Right. But
I say a brief prayer to Nur to be kind to my soul.
there doesn't seem to be a response because as the dragon continues to inhale, you can see building up in his gullet this electrical discharge which fires out across his throat and starts to build with intensity. And of course, the next moment is one that you can only imagine. Captain Reed takes the amulet and the staff, and he doesn't whack them together. He brings them close to each other. And as they're getting closer and closer, you can see that green discharge breaking across the two of them. Oh, fascinating. And
Here's for no trip.
as he touches them together, the dragon discharges this lightning, which, Jorik, you luckily do not burn up in the lava that you're about to hit, because instead your body explodes from the electrical discharge that destroys it first.
Yay!
Yes. Con, your prayer is issued, and then this bolt just causes a hole in your chest to open out. On the good side, the maggots behind you also explode as about 1 million pieces of popcorn are suddenly being made ready.
Small mercies.
Yeah, small mercies, right? Absolutely. Saket, because you were being sucked towards him and then the discharge was an exhalation, you actually are the only one who does not get zapped by electricity.
Huh.
Instead, you plunge headlong into that lava, and for a few
great.
seconds, you watch in horror as this dragon steps towards your corpse, looking and watching as you catch on fire.
Oh dear.
Ow! Absolutely, Simon, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think I had the best death. It was just over.
Just over like that, absolutely.
probably yes.
And suddenly, you find yourselves standing on the deck of the Windswift. The wind is in your hair. There is the smell of fresh ozone, and stretching out below you a mile away are the great Kush Mountain. As
Okay.
you've taken your first step aboard the Windswift, captains.
What the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad all of you are having the same reaction.
Wait, where are we?
Yeah. This isn't our ship.
Con?
That reaction happens for a fleeting second as time reshifts itself, and within a few seconds, all the memories of the last 3 years have completely been erased. You've only just graduated from the academy. You were picked up 2 days ago by the Windswift to take on the mantle of the new captains of the Windswift. The dragon, as terrifying as it is, has now been pushed into your subconscious and temporally erased from your minds. Blackston, however, you are still in the cartography room, and you still remember Reed going fascinating. And now it is just you on your own. Mios bursts in. It's happened again, sir. Not sir.
Braxton, that's my name.
I couldn't call you Blackston.
Rose? My family name?
Oh. Blackston is okay. Blackston. But it's happened again, hasn't it? Please tell me it's happened again.
Yes.
The speaker horn cork is moving as someone is obviously shouting into it. What's going on? Why is the ship once again gone through time? What are you people doing?
Chuck and Stalk,
Yes, sir.
calm down.
My, yes, all right, fine, sir.
All right. We're not dead. It's good.
Yes, but we're straight back where we get the sky whales again, sir, remember? And the drow, and the...
Well, then we're just gonna kill them all again. I'm done with this. Maybe it worked, maybe it doesn't. We're gonna find out. But there's nothing in my powers right now to change anything. This pisses me off. And if I ever meet Captain Reed again, I'm gonna punch him in the face.
Yes, sir. I Blackston. Yes, I'll remind you.
Yes. Do that. But maybe it worked.
I'll go look for sky whales, he says, and he runs up onto deck. Con, you see Mios running up onto deck. He looks you up and down. He goes, "Oh, hey, Con," and then goes up the mast, heading towards the crow's nest.
Yeah, I would then slowly follow him, and I have my longsword drawn already. I'm done with aiming for sky whales. I'm gonna fillet that shit.
I just look at Blackston when he comes up. Oh, good morning, Captain.
Oh, Captain, good to see you again.
Much to have.
What's with the sword?
Yes.
I'm expecting to be attacked, but what are you doing here?
We're,
What's it this time?
we're the new captains, the replacements, remember? We just embarked.
What's wrong with you, Blackston? You've forgotten them already. I mean, I know we had a little bit of wine last night, but come on. And Hashtuap, we are dipping on the port side. Mind those flappers.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
What attack?
You look ragged, Captain. Are you okay?
Would you like to sit down for a while, maybe have a drink?
I think there's rather too much of that already. I have some salts for you.
From above,
Are they sky whales?
from above you hear Mios, and he's shouting, "Oh no, sky whale, sir!" He says, pointing off.
Oh, good.
You hear him mumbling something. Yes, the four of you see this large pod of sky whales about a mile away, slowly making their way across the sky as they graze upon the clouds. Blackston, you see the same thing. They don't look heavily armored, though.
Well, maybe balloons are coming with drow on the bottom of them. So I'm at the ready, just looking at him. Just come. Just come. Just come.
I'm ready.
I've done this before, not once.
Who's at the helm?
That would be Naxun Hashtahep, the second officer.
Have we been introduced to everyone on the
Yes,
ship?
so you have been
Right.
here for 2 days, learning the ropes, learning everybody's names. And basically this voyage was, the Windswift had been repaired in the Chung shipyards, and after that Captain Mutaru had been given his own vessel by the Archon to go and do a particular operation which he felt that Mutaru was ideally suited for. That then, of course, left the Windswift severely under-captained, and the Archon then released an edict that there were to be more captains per ship, simply so that everyone could keep an eye on everybody else, and hopefully that would keep down the options of, unfortunate events occurring too easily anyway. You have also
I shout to Hashtahep that keep your distance to the whales, please.
Yes, sir. You have also been issued with a new oracle. This individual, Blackston, now you start to remember, is a very timid, very, very old lady. Her name is Lily, human from Brunei, and Lily is this very sweet old oracle who very much keeps to herself. She doesn't participate in anything. She's a very old school operative.
Mm-hmm.
Your immediate request was simply to give the captains the chance to look at the Windswift, give her a once-over, and then for the time being, the Windswift was given over to the captains to do with as they so choose, since...
So we don't have the same mission we had before?
Well, he's busy wrapping up everything on his side, and so he said, you've got about 2-3 weeks. You do as you so choose. I know you wanted to go to the Drow, he said, so he's given you permission to do that if you so choose. Otherwise, yes, if you want to investigate the Section 6 breach, you can head up there as well. But at the moment, his priority is just to thoroughly reinvigorate the fleets to make sure that the captains are loyal.
So which mountainside are we at right now, you said? Kush Mountains.
Happened to head to the Great Kush Mountains. You picked up the Windswift from the Chung Dock, so these are the mountain range that you need to cross anyway,
okay,
in order to head in almost any direction.
Okay.
So that is where you find yourselves. The whales very slowly sail past, and to your relief, and Mios's as well, because once they've journeyed out of sight, you hear this shout of joy from on high as Mios is like, yes, we're still alive, Blackston, he shouts.
And at this point, I would finally sheath my sword and say, like,
I feel like there's something I'm missing here.
Yes.
let me put it like this. I'm just looking for tomorrow.
But Blackston, you do realize that tomorrow is always a day away.
Does it?
Anyone go further with that song? All right, so what are you doing? What is the ship doing? Where are you heading?
So, as quartermaster, I would push to go to some nearby settlement. Now, we have a Sajet with us, right?
Absolutely. Captain
And
Saket.
another one who can speak Sajeti too.
Right. I'm more on the hunt for local knowledge right now, though, because I want to know if there are any, like, if we are heading towards the Kush Mountains from the Chunda territories, I want to go to a bigger city that has some merchandise that we could buy as we kind of travel through wherever we are going. So, but that would be the first thing that I want to do. I don't want to fly with an empty cargo space because that's inefficient.
All right.
Right, absolutely. So you also saw the Captain Saket. Your answer would most likely, if he wants to go for a big major trading port or a trading city in the south area, which is where you are if you're in the Great Kush Mountains, to the south, Takatuman is your best option. On the coast, it's one of the major trade hubs of the Sajet Empire on the east coast. It stock everything.
And while we are on the way, I would then sit down and ask the new recruits, as they are now new recruits, and Con, if there's anything that they want to do in our 3 weeks, while we head to the Sajet city, we could make our plans.
Are there any beaches near Takatuman?
Beaches? You would waste your time with drinks and sand.
Well, drinks.
Technically, there is a fantastic beach in Takatuman. It's about 4,000 miles wide and stretches from the east coast of the Sajet Empire all the way across to the west coast in the form of the desert and the beach. It's very difficult to tell where one ends and the other one starts, really.
Sounds perfect. No ice elves.
You'll probably get sand elves instead.
Sand elves or sandals?
Well, you'll need those too.
Well, Blackston, I understand that you have a desire to return the heirlooms of our fallen comrade to his family.
Yes, this would be the right thing to do, wouldn't it? So here's actually a question. So you say the Drow are in the Underdark version of your setting.
Correct.
Where are the entrances?
Most major cities have an official entrance into the Underdark. These are expressed in the forms of fairly large elevators, which run...
Then let me rephrase this a little bit. So I'm looking for a particular family in the Underdark, and I assume records of the Order would kind of have ideas of where they are from. So where would we need to go? Is it far? Is it not far? Whatever.
And yes, you are looking for the record. I've completely gone blank on the man's name. What was it?
I can take a look if you want.
Yes. Anyway, it's not a problem. So the challenge, or not the challenge, the interesting thing about the Drow is that the Underdark has quite an efficient way of moving around that allows you to move from one city to the other fairly quickly. It's a form of teleportation magic, which is not fully explored, but the Drow have assured everybody that it doesn't involve dimensional travel whatsoever. And considering that it is the mainstay of the Drow economy, it has been allowed to continue. It was thoroughly investigated by the gnomes and by the Order of the Octrelicor, and they couldn't find anything really that breached the rule system. So it doesn't really matter which Drow city you get into. Once you're in there, you can then move very quickly to any other.
Okay.
So you have records, correct, of where you need to go, and that would be the city of Sparvalis.
All right. Yeah, well, I would voice this then. It's at least there's some. That's the place where I would want to go.
All right, sounds reasonable. How long is the travel across Akisadab to get to Takatumen?
By ship, it'll take you, if you carry on at normal speed, it'll take you about 3 days. If you increase the ship speed, you could probably... no, if that's at maximum speed, it's 3 days. If you go at normal speed, it'll take about a week.
Yeah. Right. Bearing in mind, we'll have to approach by sea when we arrive.
Right.
But luckily, the city is on the coast. So.
Correct.
Sounds like a good place to start.
Yeah.
The name of the Drow was Narrow Jovesius.
That's right.
At least that's how I wrote it down.
I can check my notes, but they were digital, not paper. So, Jovesius.
Well,
Jovesius, yeah.
So you set course for Takatumen, is that correct?
Might as well.
Yeah.
Lord knows the way that our fate has been running these last few months. We may or may not get there before something happens to us.
Right.
And while we're on the way, I would like to quiz the gnomes a bit.
With the other captains present?
Not necessarily.
All right.
Well, if we've settled up our immediate business, I need to go and do my laundry.
I feel dirty. Meanwhile, I've been on a ship for the last 3 weeks.
Somehow I feel dirty. I don't know why.
All right, so everyone sort of breaks up to go off and do their own thing. Blackson, you end up with, you want them both at the same time, both Quallen and Waffen?
Sure, cross-examination could be beneficial.
All right, so they stand looking...
I could also make like the prisoner's dilemma. Actually, let's discuss this one by one.
All right. So you've got Quallen, the chief engineer. He's standing there looking at you.
So, Quallen.
Aye.
You mentioned that we got back in time again.
Aye.
I think that sort of thing is over for now. As you saw, I got my hands on the dragon artifacts, and they seem to be, the origin of our temporal problems. But there's Captain Reed, when he came, he spoke about gnomes being accustomed to time travel.
I wouldn't say a custom, sir. A custom sounds like we do it all the time. It certainly isn't done all the time, not at all.
So who does this?
Mostly accidents do it, sir. You understand, temporal mechanics is a headache to begin with, and if you go down the wrong trousers of time leg, you end up in a pair of shoes that you just didn't want to be in, if you take my meaning, sir.
Yes, I had first-hand experience. Now,
I know what your next question's going to be, so I'll head you off before you get there. Anybody who's basically been exposed to the magical aura of an engine is basically removed from these kind of temporal wakes that happen.
yeah.
Aye.
I mean,
Don't ask me why.
it is how it is, and there's nothing we can change about it anyway. But my question is, are you worried? I would gladly assist you, because recently they did some things come to the surface that are greatly worrying me, at least.
And what will those things be, sir?
You remember those parchments we found on the Rex Drakari people?
The maps that track the location of the ships, sir?
The maps that don't exist.
Aye.
And you know all the other things that kind of happened in connection to the Sector 13?
There were some things. Aye.
That basically almost led to the downfall of the Order, as I recall.
Yeah, well, you saved it, sir.
That I did. Now, I'm very worried about what's happening in Sector 13. And I think a very trusted group of captains should take a look into this to make sure there are no more traitors and no more leaks in this boat of gnomes, right?
Well, you're right, sir. But there's it's a squishy area, sir. It's very dwarvish, if you take my meaning.
Yeah, that's what your brother told me too.
He did?
Yeah. Fairly similar words, actually. He didn't call it squishy. I think he called it pudgy, was it? Anyway.
Give me a deception check.
All right, let's see. It's Curse, right? Yeah. All right. 17.
17? Pudgy. Aye. All right. That is a word he uses. Yes.
Yeah, well. So, I don't know. Like, my question to you is, I honestly want to know, like, if he's worried about this at all.
The engines were designed on very short notice, sir. And that meant that the gnomes needed to take shortcuts to make sure that we got everything ready by the time the orders wanted them to be ready. And there were still lots of those half-dragon folk running around that needed to be rounded up and sorted out. So they did what they could. They really did. But ultimately, when they finally came up with a solution of how to draw the magic, there wasn't much other choice, sir. So the problem is that the solution is part of the problem, if you take my meaning. Only I think this was a slip up on Section 13's behalf. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, the problem is, sir, if you go in there, you might find answers to questions that you have, which you don't like to hear because it creates an unsolvable situation. So, like I said, it's very dwarvish.
I'm here to solve situations.
I don't think
That's kind of my job. That's my job description. Situation solver.
Yes, but that might mean you need to execute most of the Gnomish race, sir.
I don't think that's in the. Okay, this is actually also deception. I think this isn't in the idea of the order to execute every gnome, right? Just some supervision.
Well, I'd be buggered if I know what that would look like, sir, but all I'm saying is we can go and have a look.
Oh, yes.
It's your right, obviously, as an order member. I just worry about you, sir. You've had a really tough time these last few days, and maybe it'll look better when you've slept and had a wee meal to eat and have had some time to contemplate your successes.
Yes. Well, we're heading for the Sajet
Aye.
regions first, and then there's other things we need to do. But just to humor me,
Oh dear.
where exactly is Sector 13 located?
It doesn't technically exist, sir, if you...
Even those things that don't exist need to be at some place.
Well, they probably don't exist in Gwathkimble, sir. The capital of the Gnomish states of Hiquin.
Yes, well. If anything else arises, then maybe we'll take a look at this.
Aye.
Maybe we'll not. Who knows?
Aye. All right.
But I'll promise you one thing.
Aye.
I will absolutely defer to you and your brother's expertise in explaining situations to us that we might not understand directly and help us understand the answers that we're going to find there, possibly.
And I'll do my best, sir, to answer your questions truthfully and try and avoid jealousy.
I think a more forward-coming situation would be beneficial to all of us.
Aye, that's what I was worried about, sir. All right. Well, I suppose the cat's out the bag now. You might as well.
Yeah, she's on top of on the top deck right now.
Right.
Come on, lighten up. And just for reference, if you need anything to drink, Meals was all so not affected by the time. What did you call them? Waves?
Fluctuations,
yes.
ripples, eddies.
Yes, he did help your
room.
Yeah, he helped your friends on the, what was it called, the ship? Karandachi, right, on the Karandachi.
Say, yeah, that explains a lot about the lad. All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. All right. Well, the ship arrives rather uneventfully, as that happens to be, in the great city of Takatuman, which spreads out in all directions. The city is about 15, 16 miles across. It is this mega collection of cultures and people. Ships are plenty. There are over 800 ships in dock from every nation of the world. And you can see these spectacularly large stone golems that have these very jackal-like heads moving around the docks. They themselves stand 20, 30 foot tall, depending on which one you look at. And they just lift up cargo and dump it into ships and then move on to the next ship, lift it up and then put it in, then move and then put it in. They're being ridden by the Sajet elves who kind of rock from side to side as they walk around and are obviously conducting business and that sort. It takes the ship about 3 hours to actually get a berth, not because of bureaucratic tape, just because, well, that's how long it takes before another ship sails out, and you're then able to actually get in and find a berth that will house you. The quartermaster just wants to know how long the ship is going to be in dock for.
So since we can go below from where we are at right now, right? Correct. That's how I understand it?
Yes, you can.
So this can take some time. So this is something we would know. Like this is this busy before. So probably we would have spoken about this before, right? So is there anything you guys want to do in the near future? Otherwise, I would just tell them like 2 weeks. If that's like it took us a week here. We have 3 weeks kind of time.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we needed a week back, I guess, too. Well, we don't really. We have an oracle. Okay, so then 2 weeks.
Anyway, they'll
because we have an oracle. We have like so then I'll just say 2 weeks. At tops, possibly quicker, and we would inform him if that.
No, 2 weeks is absolutely fine. He'll book you in for 2 weeks and charge it to the orders account. Not a problem whatsoever. There is an order office here.
Great, that's where I want to go
to visit it. All right, so that's what you're going to be doing. Con, what are you doing?
Well, supposedly on holiday, but kind of been dragged into the wake of business like Blackstone.
So it's like floral shirt, shorts, sandals. It's like
I'm ready.
It's like I'm here.
Umbrella.
So you're
Blackstone, why are you in your suit?
Oh, there we go.
Holiday con.
Holiday con. What, you're going to the order? You know we're supposed to be on a break, right?
Yes, but I need to get our salaries.
Ah, well.
That's an interesting change of tone right there.
Well, I should probably come with you, just to...
I was going to grab it for everybody and then pay it out as soon as I return to the... I mean, isn't this what the quartermaster usually does?
Yeah.
Very well. You will... I think I shall go and find some...
And have you seen E.T.?
The tea. The famous tea, yes. How could I forget? Perhaps we should load up the hold with some. But that's your purview.
Haven't you seen Saket? Maybe she knows something about local goods that I'm not unaware of, or the customs to get the best prices. Foreigners always get the worst of those. So worst of those.
I don't mind going to bargain for
So
whatever you want to buy.
I came to a bargain situation here. Yes.
All right. Yes. So the famous Takatuman tea, also known as the tea, is considered the best tea that there can possibly be purchased anywhere in the world because it's grown in such a dry climate. It has a very strong flavor. Some claim you can taste the breath of the sea, and every sip others claim you can taste the camel dung. Either way, it is a particular aromatic tea which is grown specifically.
Which is great because, as I would also speak to our chef, who is a drow incidentally, and since we're heading towards the drow, he would know stuff about things you would eat or drink, so perfect synergy. So would they actually want this kind of things?
Basically, you're putting together a trade delegation. You're working out your plans. Con, you are going sun tanning?
Well, everyone's going shopping and my medical supplies are all right, I think. So,
Right.
Yes, Connor's taking it easy.
Right.
He doesn't feel particularly needed. Nobody's sick. He doesn't do buying and selling of things. That's, really not his area.
Right.
I guess I would do an inspection of the ship, because
Sure.
that's the other thing I'm obsessed about. I will do a thorough inspection of the ship.
All right.
And just generally be at leisure until they come back from their adventures.
All right.
In which case, the cat would tell him of a really good fish restaurant.
There you go.
So these will be the adventures of the Windswift.
There we go. Jorik, what is Jorik doing?
I'm going to make the most... Sorry.
I'm going to tag along Con in checking the ship because even though I'm a captain, it's always interesting, all these mechanics and stuff. And then after that, I am going to head to town for some leisure and shopping.
There you go. And Adressai?
I'm going to go check out that fish restaurant. And also, I think they are going to go browse the market and buy little tourist trinkets and maybe smaller packs of spice for their own use. and like a picture of Takatuman made out of seashells. It's like welcome to Takatuman or something like that.
Okay, well now we know what Edrisize roll is on the ship. It's to buy seashell curios from all the ports.
Trinket master.
All right, so that's what you're doing.
I'm making the most of the sunshine before Blackston drags me underground.
Right, absolutely.
I think maybe like a local city map or something. I think they like maps.
Oh yes. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do some very rushed town montaging as everyone goes off in their various directions. So
it's a montage.
Exactly. So if you in the audience will just quietly, due to copyright limitations, would you please hum a tune from any movie that you like, preferably one that involves shopping, and just follow along as I work our way through this. So between Saket and Blackston, I would require from you, please, one of you needs to give me a persuasion check.
I'm good with those.
Delicate negotiations.
Okay, and it'd not be me because I got a natural 1 there.
Right. 26.
So you start to negotiate for Takatuman TTT. It is a standard export down to the Drow territories, but it always sells. And if you, how much are you willing to spend, by the way?
2,500 gold pieces.
For that amount, you can pick up 1 metric ton of the stuff.
Okay, so in that case, again, similar to what I tried to do with the dwarves, also going to the more highly priced, less kind of volume kind of stuff. So I would still try to not do just by one thing, right? It's called risk management.
Diversify your product portfolio. I understand.
Exactly.
All right. So that's what you're busy working with. Saket, can you give me an insight check, please?
19.
19. All right. So you are busy negotiating with the traders, and the female Sajetti enjoys quite not an elevated status amongst society, but the Pharos, yes, it is a man. It's a 9-year-old boy, but his advisor is the spiritual leader of the people, is a woman, and she commands a lot of respect. So as you're chatting to the trader whilst Blackston is busy looking into various options, you realize that the trader has been holding back on certain objects, certain items, which he prefers to sell only to the Sajetti rather than to humans to take down to the Drow. And you managed to get Blackston a very good deal on your 2,500 gold. You've got various things. The one thing that you have is called the Dew of the Desert, which is a very singular sap that comes from a particular plant. I think, Con, you've got something like that as well.
My very special cabinet in the med bay.
That's right. So you managed to pick up one of those. That costs you 2,000. The reason why you think it's worth buying, though, is because the retail value underground will probably be double that. And then with 500 gold, you can pick up various other bits and pieces, lapis lazuli, jewelry, that kind of stuff that doesn't often get found underground.
And I would also get some tea for our local cook. Maybe he can.
Absolutely lovely. Yeah. Takatuman tea. Takatuman is fairly cheap to buy it in bulk. Between Jorik and Con, can you guys, one of you, please give me an investigate check?
Oh, wow. 26.
Yeah, let's do that.
So Jorik is busy looking at the repairs that have been affected. Con, you are very critical of the keel line. You're making sure that the Chung have done a good job. And you have to hand it to them. They really have done a good job. They have installed very high quality timber. She's probably a little bit sluggish because it looks as if they have reinforced the keel line with extra bronze plating on the inside of the hull, which is not specification, but has given it a bit of extra strength, but it's also weighting it down a little bit. Probably you might notice the difference because you've been sailing the Windy for quite some time, but not particularly noticeable. However, between the two of you, you can't account for 5 foot of hull space at the back of the ship, in the lower deck, right at the back. You've paced her out, and you've done it twice, but it feels like there's a wall that's 5 foot closer than there should be.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I've done the calculations. It
does look wrong.
Doesn't make sense at all.
Is it hollow?
Tap on it, yes, you tap on it, it definitely sounds hollow.
Is this anywhere near where the engineering would be?
Engineering is at the front.
Okay,
So
no.
This is at the level that the jail cell is. There's hold space back here. It's below all the captain's cabins.
Well, this is odd.
Back here as well.
Ask the bosun.
I know it's your ship, but
Well, it's our ship now.
I know, but
I don't like not knowing what. It's not very big, though, is it? I mean, would the other side of it be outside the ship? Is it against the hull of the ship, or is it internal?
Yeah, so it's against the hull of the ship. So it's as if they've just built a wall clean across the back of the ship. So even the 2 side rooms are 5 foot shorter than they were. And come to think of it, you remember being able to put your hands out on either side and not touch the walls. Now when you do that, you can touch both sides of the walls. There's definitely something on the back side of that.
do you have a breaker bar or something?
We have all the tools we could need.
And of course,
strange.
there's Quallen the carpenter, so he's available as well if you need him.
We have staff. Let's get this open.
Yep.
I don't like unknown voids on my ship.
All right, you go and get your staff ready.
Damn it! And there was a good fish restaurant I was supposed to be finding.
Speaking of which, there is a very happy cat. The Cathar is working their way through quite a nice meal, I believe. Your curious... Your curio bag is piled full and high, and the meal is going down well. Can you please give me a perception check?
Yes. 12.
12. All right. Everything is going absolutely fantastic. The guide that you got a map from, he was well worth the 5 gold that you paid. It was just great. The map looks absolutely accurate. He told you that it was drawn using a local Sagetti clay marker, which has fantastic resale value. It's got great healing properties. And although you are convinced that it looks like crayon, he convinced you that it's definitely a clay pigmentation used by the Sagetti wise men of the deserts of the sand.
That's just
Stuff.
The known deserts of the sand, of course.
So you have this prized map of the city, which has got you particularly excited because apparently there's a water fountain of 12 elephants somewhere.
Ooh.
Is there also an X on it?
Absolutely. So that's your afternoon spent having a lot of fun. And so it is that Con and Jorik, you have your carpenters who sort of cut into, Quallen, he takes the measurements, he takes them again. Not that he doesn't trust your maths, he just wants to know where to cut.
I could have told you that.
Aye, but it's important to understand. It's just my way, sir. I don't like cutting into the ship if we don't have to. All right. So he has made a very small incision into the wall using a drill and then a file. And there is definitely a space on the other side. When you look inside that space, you can feel that there's a latch. And after a bit of jiggery-pokery, a door slides open to reveal this very compact 5-foot space, there's a cot on the one side, which takes up most of the space, with some very well-made linen, all very neatly strapped down into place. There's a small chest also strapped down into place. Everything has been made secure. And that's what you find. Well, I certainly didn't put that there, sir.
No, this is not on any drawings I've seen either.
Why would you want such a small room down here? I mean, the captains have all got at least 40 square feet each.
And
The Oracle has a chamber upstairs, right?
Aye.
everyone has somewhere to sleep. This
is not regulation.
a
This was put in
stowaway
by the bloody
compartment.
Chung. But I don't understand why the Chung would put it in here, because the Chung couldn't fit in here if they tried.
Indeed.
There's a
Great.
stowaway compartment. Could we? Well, it's a bit late. We're in dock now. Does it look like it's been used?
No, it looks absolutely
Prepared
pristine.
for use and never used.
Correct.
It's not like we can talk to the engineers in Chung's city to find out. You
It's a
don't know
lot.
anything about this. I look at the gnome. You
It's
were
not
here when
bloody
this
gnome.
happened.
I'll have, with all due respect, sir, we were
Poor
on...
gnomes on our ship.
I believe my instructions were very clear before we left.
Aye, they were. But there's a wee problem, sir. When a giant chung stands in your way, you can't see neither high or low or around them because they're so furry. So you tend to get stuck at the back, kind of watching what they do. And
Or
there's
not
a few of
watching,
us, I
as
might
the
mind.
case may be.
We most definitely were watching, sir. If you think I was going to let a chung come anywhere near my ship without knowing exactly what they were doing, then you would be absolutely right, because there was one night when we drank a wee bit too much and I might have fallen asleep, sir, and I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. It's my fault, says Quallen as he drops onto his knees, wringing at your
Oh,
trousers.
God. Colin, really? No, that isn't necessary. Do stand
No,
up.
that's all right. I
Pull
understand.
yourself together
sir.
now.
I understand. He pulls his head to the side. Slit my chain of day. I have failed the order. I'm a traitor.
Oh, calm
See what
down, Jokin
Blackstone
Stoke.
decides to do with you later, but for now, go away.
Aye, sir. He wanders off miserable. You can hear him sobbing all the way up to the kitchen, where he starts to...
I look at Con
Sad story.
sideways and just, aren't you a little hard on him?
Yeah, he was. No, I wasn't.
All right.
And there's just bed linen and stuff. There's nothing else in this compartment. Is
So
there?
apart from the
There are
chest,
basically.
and when you open up... Correct. When you open up the chest, the only thing that's inside it, it's not even locked. It's just strapped in place. The only thing inside it was a fairly well-made box. And inside the box, there is a pouch that sounds like it's clinking, as if there's two things inside it that sort of bang together or rub together. And then at the bottom of the box is a very beautifully made, but very functional silver dagger.
Does this dagger look familiar?
No, just very, very well made. As a matter of fact, what is fairly unique about it is the fact that it looks absolutely normal, except for its exceptional quality. So the handle is a very standard leather-wrapped handle. The hilt is unremarkable, but very well made. And the balance is absolutely perfect.
Fascinating. And in the pouch?
Two very circular black stones.
Perfectly circular or sort of rough, tumbled circular? Have they been worked, polished?
Polished circular, yeah.
I dump them out onto my hand.
All right, give me a
I'll
wisdom.
give them a good inspection. There we go. How long does that blessing?
And does it cross time?
That would be 6, 4, 13.
13. As you dump it out into your hand, you hear a voice in your head, and the voice asks you in a very guttural language a question. What languages do you speak?
Common and Druidic.
It's a language you've never heard before, but it's particularly guttural, and it asks you a very specific question.
Would you know what language it is? I mean, even if you don't speak Spanish, you would kind of, or Italian or whatever.
No, you haven't heard this language spoken before, so you wouldn't know it.
Doesn't matter. Voices in my head. Nope. Back in the bag.
All right, back in the bag.
And then I sigh.
All right, Saket, Blackstone, you guys arrive back at the ship with your trade all sorted and ready to go. And then Adresai, I think you eventually make your way back to the ship, right?
Yes.
As sort of night.
Does she follow the?
I imagine so. Sort of
Does she try to follow the map?
New silk scarf over my ears and just very pleased.
Pleased as punch, yeah. The elephant statue was not where it indicated on the map, and it became quite apparent that this map was actually just a very good work of subject clay interpretation of the city. It's more like the essence of the city. You realize it's the spirit that's been captured.
I think they wouldn't be disappointed as much as challenged. Like, now I can remake it better.
Right.
It's a good project.
Well, there's optimism for you. Okay. Yeah, so that brings you all back together onto the ship. Gentlemen, are you doing anything about that room?
I have no idea what
is it shared? Is the information shared about it?
Well, we're still down there, I presume, as they get back. So obviously, once I've discovered that there are voices in my head from the stones, I sort of sigh and look at Jorik. It's happening again. Better come with me.
Okay.
I grab the nearest speaking horn and go, if all the captains are aboard, would you please join me in the war room? Thank you.
The war room? Okay.
I assume he means
Saket,
the cartography room.
I'm very glad that you were. Saket, I'm very glad that you were with me. That's nice catch. And I think that's going to help everybody of us very well.
No problem. It's all right. I picked up some few treats for myself.
All the better.
Absolutely. All right, so you met up in the war room, in the cartography room.
So,
without too much preamble, yeah. Sorry, Jorik, I cut you off there.
No, go ahead.
I sort of plonk the items down on the table once everyone's there. So Jorik and I discovered a hidden compartment down on the lower deck. Apparently put there during the Chung refit.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be there.
No. In which we found what appeared to be the setup for a stowaway, but it doesn't look like they ever used it.
Okay.
In the bag are 2 stones.
Oh, someone lost their balls. Pity. On several levels, it would seem.
I hold up my
The
hand
word
and
you're
try
looking
to
for
give
is
Saket a
marbles.
high five.
When I did the Mutaru thing and just touched them, I heard a commanding voice, interrogative even, in my head. Don't recognize the language, I'm afraid. And that about brings you all up to speed.
I would not, and I would grab the divine symbol, and I would cast Detect Magic, just to be sure.
All right. The stones glow quite brilliantly with a divination magic.
Well, I could take a listen to those stones. I mean, I can understand the language using magic.
And the dagger?
The dagger does not glow.
Okay.
It's just a remarkably well-made dagger.
Divination, you say?
Well, I can, if you give me the stones, I can tell you what the voice says, if you want to risk that.
I gesture to the pouch on the table. Do be careful.
Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Where have I heard that
I
before?
can cast comprehend languages.
I would cast Bless on her too.
All right.
What exactly does bless do?
Gives you an extra D4 on your save.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm going to cast comprehend languages, and I'm going to pick up the.
All right. You pick up the stone. There is a voice in your head because you're not resisting, and the voice simply says, "What are you to report?"
I put them back down. And it says,
It's like ring, ring. Yes. Ring.
Well, it asked me what I have to report.
Looks like we have a
What
blind
language
passenger.
was it, by the way?
That's unnerving.
It was Graith.
The language was great.
I knew it!
Yeah.
That slimy ambassador man, he's done something to our ship.
And on that note, we'll be back.
Ambassador, man.
On that note, we will be back next week. So thank you for tuning in and for joining us and for watching. If you don't stay behind for the review, thank you and farewell. Stay with us. We'll do the review. So we'll use the Dice of Destiny. There are 6 people. So we'll use 6. Yay. For easy maths. And that is Sophie. You are up first. So not a lot going on with Saket really in this particular
No.
What was your thoughts on today's adventure? Do you think you managed to bring her across as you had liked? What do you
I think there's still elements of her to come out, but she'll come out.
Give her time.
Give her time. Yes. But it was a good game. It's always a pleasure to play. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes.
Right, absolutely. And something to think about. What are your thoughts? The world that we're playing in Braxia. Like, for example, Simon through to UK. Well, what city are we going to go to? What's the closest one? I can see you've got the map there. But at that scale, I don't know if you can read anything on the printed.
No, I have to use the iPad blow-up PDF as well. But
right. So the question I have for you then is, I, as a GM, I'm very liberal in terms of people being able to just sort of make up stuff as they go along, and then I adapt it and coerce it. How do you feel about that sort of stuff? So sort of going with talking about the city and tradable bits and pieces.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying sort of trying to think about involving some of my own anthropological knowledge into weaving a bit more of a story. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how I can weave a bit of, Egyptian mythology and stuff into the story, and some of her own backstory as well into the story.
Absolutely. And do you just wear the one ear? I have to ask.
Yes, because it takes hours to blend. But I do have 2, but I'm afraid the only person who ever sees me with 2 is probably Con when he's GMing.
Right. Oh, there we go. Well, it's spectacular. Anyway, thank you. All right, Simon, how do you think this episode is a bit railroady, obviously, but we needed to get back on track.
I'm fine with railroady. That's not an issue.
Right.
No, I liked it. People died. It's good. No, just kidding. No, it's interesting. It's again, like you're throwing out the net. It's not a hook, it's nets at this point. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how that kind of goes. And obviously every adventure starts with the first steps, which we are about to take, I guess.
Absolutely.
Other than that, from Blackson's point of view, I kind of grilled one of the gnomes a bit.
Which was very amusing.
And then Con grilled another gnome a bit. So
yeah, the gnomes are not happy tonight. They will be very relieved when their captains have gone into the Underdark. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and other than that, let's see where this goes. Obviously, there's things that Blackson is very worried about that he plans to do, and I'm really interested to see if it comes to pass, if I ever run into that, how I will actually, or he will actually behave, because killing everybody. Genocide isn't really an option, but
Well, let's see.
The Doctor objects to genocide.
The Doctor
Does he
Definitely.
genocide, absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, the Doctor, the Doctor was in a different situation today, wasn't he?
Yes, somewhat.
Right. Are you glad to
Doesn't know
be
where
back?
his feet are at this point.
Right, absolutely. Are you glad to be back and playing?
Oh yes. It's I've been enjoying the whole thing immensely. So the break missing the rest of the auditions was very irritating, especially with the whole time loop thing and the groundhog jokes. I could have had a lot of fun with that as well.
Right.
But I think I like the way it's all sort of brought together. As you say, it was railroady, but again, as a GM as well, we all kind of understand when you need to do certain things. So
Right.
it's an enjoyable ride. So I'm not bothered by that. So now that we're all in place, everyone's had a chance we've all played together and maybe get over the fact that we're being recorded a little, and
Right.
it all seemed to be quite relaxed actually. Yeah. So I thought it flowed quite nicely, and we'll really get into it.
Absolutely. Jorik, how is it for you? No longer in audition phase, but now a proper member of the crew.
Yeah, there's an enormous amount of information to take in, of course. All the rules of the Hastari and all the history that has happened. And also trying to balance what does Jorik know that has happened and what do I know? Because I've been following Windswift, so I know everything that has happened, but Jorik doesn't. So balancing that act is kind of should I know this or should I not?
Right.
And also the whole taking place in the group, which is always a difficult thing before it sets in.
it's going to take 2 months. That's just how
probably.
It is. No, it's just how it is.
Yeah, and that's the things that jog my mind more or less. But I enjoyed it greatly. It was very fun, and I liked the introduction adventure, the mini adventure you did for us just to get our characters in. I really don't have much to add more than. For the second time, you put Jorik in a situation where he really doesn't know what to do. It's like, you're in this town, do whatever you want. And Jorik is all business, all work. He's driven. Right. And it's like, why? Let's just go. So, yeah, he's a little bit frustrated. Just, can we go now?
Right. Adrisai?
Yes. Had an amazing time. I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the little sort of meta hint about that dragon in the cave. I mean, it was, of course, nothing that we know or possibly isn't part of this story even, or possibly this timeline. But I thought it was just a little, like, suddenly the thought is in my head that it's a possibility that there are still dragons out there, which I thought was a little sort of, that's new information to me. It's terrifying. But I enjoyed myself a lot. I also feel like as the people coming into the group with 3 magic users, and I feel like it's gonna be a little tricky to sort of carve out a niche for the character without stepping in on anyone else's, like what they're doing with their character, as well as like just personality wise and stuff like that. But I've no doubt that it's going to end up fine eventually. It's just a little tricky at the start.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, from my perspective, I think that we've seen 3 very different people, even if they all have a similar sort of spell lean. I think it's already come across as being quite different. I hope you agree with me. Leave your comments below if you do. Yes, absolutely. So I'm glad that everyone kind of has settled into it, and we can really get into it and take off now and see where the adventures take us. And thank you all for watching and for voting and for being part of this process. I know that, there's always bound to be disappointments in terms of, I wonder if they've been that person or if they've been that person. But I think we've got 3 wonderful people here that are going to really, really make us laugh, as well, hopefully you were in this episode already. And take us to even greater heights. So until next week, thank you for watching. Goodbye.